So recently I have learned about somebody named Anita Sarkeesian, who is a feminist, which I say that with negative connotation because she's not a feminist. And we'll get into that in a minute. She is the host of a show called Feminist Frequency, which talks about obviously things feminist. So people like her and Lacey Green are they're on a part of a spectrum that I push way down the line. Being that they aren't necessarily feminists, they are radical feminists. And there's a huge difference between the two. Like Islamic and radical Islamic. Islamic is a culture of people that celebrate a certain religion. Radical Islamic is used to talk about terrorists. Not saying that they're terrorists, but it's an apt description. So, to defend this, let's look at the definition of feminism, which feminism means essentially equality of the sexes. Believes that there should be 100% equality between men and women, which I completely agree with. So in that sense, I am a feminist. I believe that not only women and men, but people of all walks of life should be treated equally and given the same opportunity, which in America, believe it or not, they do most of the time. There are exceptions to the rule, but when you look at other parts of the world, there are people that are suffering and that they're not equal, but these people like Anita Sarkeesian and Lacey Green and people like them, just extremist feminists, believe that they have the short end of the stick, that women, especially themselves, are being oppressed by the patriarchy, which is essentially a line of male dominance, which was used back in like the medieval times when a king died, the son would take his throne. That's a patriarchy, where the male stays in control. However, it's kind of skewed now to where it's like the male is oppressing everybody else. And what is worse nowadays than being a white straight male? Cisgender. I love the term. So they, as feminists, believe that we all should be equal, but they believe they should be higher than us. So they look down on our cisgender, straight white men as the bane of society, that we cannot function with us being such patriarchal, misogynist douches, that we're destroying the fabric of America. So let's look at a couple of examples here. So the biggest example that feminists like to use is that the over-sexualization of women in the media and used an advertisement to sell. But my question is, why is this picture of a woman selling a certain product more offensive than this man selling a product? They're both pretty sexualized, I do believe. In fact, they're very sexualized. They're over sexualized. But it's only sexist if women do it, or if it's done to women. So all these media body issues that women are facing, which I do believe is an epidemic. I do believe that the media is forcing an unreal perspective on not just women, men too. Because on the tops of these, at the covers of these tabloids and all these magazines, used to draw in the eye, it's an attractive woman or it's an overly attractive man. It's not just women. It's not just you. You're not just being oppressed by the patriarchal media that's so far out to get you. So, let's move on. I've already touched on the discrimination of white straight men, which is I can't control if I'm white. My parents are white. I can't control it. I'm a man. I mean, I could, but I don't really feel like going through a gender reassignment when I don't feel that I should. There's no drawback to being a white man, a white straight man. There's no drawback to being a gay man or a gay woman, a white woman, black man, black woman, Asian, Indian, doesn't matter. There's no drawback to any of it, really, at all. But they seem very content, these radical feminists, to pin all of their problems on us. Because I'm a white straight man. And that's bad. That I made a choice. You know, when I was born, I said, I'm going to be white and straight and terrible. Oh, also, I'm going to be a man. I'm going to just grow this penis that just makes me the bane of people's existence. Let's see. What other points do I have to touch on? I've got a few points that I like to touch on here. Another thing to touch on, this is a very jumping video from point to point, and I'm hoping to open up a discussion. Do you think that it is appropriate to treat men as these radical feminists do? Not only believing that they should be equal with us, but believing that they should be able to use us. And I believe that Anita Sarkeesian said that when something is reduced to an object, it can be acted upon. Well, what do you think you do with men? It's not just happening to women, it's happening to men too. Does it happen to women more frequently? Maybe. I don't know. So, with you, here's an option. Would you date this man or this man? Which one would you rather have sex with? I mean, which one's more attractive? But you just judge that person, turning him into an object, and that object can be acted upon. So do you think that it's appropriate to make these cut and clear assumptions about how terrible white men are, how terrible men are, how everybody's part of the patriarchy, and they're all misogynists, unless they share the same viewpoints as you? Do you think it's fair to pass on that to little girls? When they're growing up, they're being molded by this, and it's happening in media too. Media is more and more making male characters less intelligent, brooding forces, and the woman is the power, the powerful character, which I do believe that women are very powerful people. I mean, if we didn't have women, I mean, I'm definitely not going to try to shoot a baby out my penis. That would hurt like heck. Women are valuable. They're so valuable that this oppression that you've fabricated in your mind is us men trying to protect you. Not in all cases. If we don't want you to work in a certain job field, say a labor-intensive job field where there's a high risk of injury, it's not because we are discriminating against you because you're a woman. It's because we don't want you to have to do that work. I would rather me go off to war and risk my life than have a woman do the same thing because she is more valuable to the furtherment of society than I am. It's not fair that we're forcing these views on men, especially, to younger girls, where even in Disney movies, men are viewed as a kind of like a stepping stone sometimes. And not to cry wolf and say, oh, men are being oppressed. I don't think that oppression really is as prominent as people think it is. I think they're kind of crying wolf to take attention on themselves when things could be far worse for them. Look at other countries. If you want to see female oppression, look at other countries. And don't say you're trying to help them. Do something to help them. Do something to better your cause. Don't cry wolf on the internet like Anita Sarkeesian and Lacey Green do. There's a huge difference between fighting for equality, which is feminism, and disparaging others for being men or white straight men. They can't change their born origins, and you're implicating essentially that they are lesser people because of their gender, and their color of skin, which is what radical feminists do and social justice warriors do. It's one thing to be genuinely offended by something. It's one thing for you to be offended on behalf of another person that might not be offended, which is what social justice warriors do, which is what feminists do. And Feminist Frequency's most recent Tropes versus Women in video games, because those video games, they're evil. They'll get you. She implied that they are sensationalizing stereotypes in video games. It's not just video games, Anita. It's pretty much everything. Her main point was that there's a witch doctor in Diablo 3. The witch doctor is a black man, and he's stereotypical. He's got the small, shrunken skull and using magic, and that's stereotypical and offensive. It's not stereotypical, it's not offensive because it happened. You can't take offense to something that happened. You can't take offense to a stereotype that is reinforced. Witch doctors were predominantly, as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, witch doctors were predominantly in the Jamaican and Louisiana region. They were a lot of black witch doctors. Is Diablo bad for pointing that out? Is Diablo the devil here? Well, I guess Diablo means devil. But is Diablo the gaming devil because they put in a stereotype that did already exist? And the fact that so many games are using stereotypical portrayals of cultures. If it's a stereotype, it's probably correct. Not all, but a lot of stereotypes are there because it was a recognized pattern in that culture. So instead of saying it's stereotypical and it's wrong, it's saying, well, you know what? At least they're bringing light to a part of a culture that may not be looked on that much, like a witch doctor. We don't learn about those in school very much, or at all. I've never learned about a witch doctor. You can't cherry pick. Anita, you can't cherry pick to reinforce a conclusion that you've already come to. And there's another YouTuber by the name of Thunderfoot, who is he's a biochemist, I do believe, researching biochemist, and he made a good point that scientists research to come to a conclusion. People like Anita come to a conclusion and then research to back it up. So instead of researching all fields to come to a qualitative conclusion, you come to a qualitative conclusion and then you take parts of information to back it up. You can't judge gaming and cultures and men on cherry picking your ideas. You can't say all men are bad. All men are just terrible things unless they think the same way I do, because that is bigotry. The same thing that you speak out against. When Trump was elected, you said, we can't let bigotry become the norm. Well, you can't. You're a hypocrite because you're speaking out against bigotry, which bigotry is not liking people that aren't like and don't think like you do. So, in conclusion, feminism is okay. I am a feminist. I agree with the feminist theory. Radical feminism, however, is toxic to the younger generation. It's toxic to a lot of people. It's go on Tumblr, 10 minutes. That's all you'll need. You'll never want to go back. The place where there has been discovered 36 different genders last I looked. Wow. 36 different genitalia, or just 36 different ways of thinking about genitalia. Anyways, you have to recognize the difference between agreeing with a fundamental movement of women and men being equal, all races being equal, which they are and should be, and believing that one race or one gender is worse than the other and that they should be put down because of their misogynist, bigotorial beliefs, and that they're ruining the fabric of this country, and they are hurting my feelings. Put on your big boy pants, Buttercup, because nobody cares about your feelings in this day and age. Simple as that. So, hopefully, I've given you something to think about. And just comment down below, and I'll talk to you then. Bye.